calling all behavior nerds like me. I hope you'll join me for my favorite weekend of the year, the 2026 Dog Behavior Conference. Registration is now open at dogbehaviorconference.com, and the virtual live conference takes place from April the 17th to the 19th. Your registration will give you access to all 3 days of the conference online, as well as the ability to replay all the presentations and live Q&As from the conference for up to 1 year. Reserve your seat today at dogbehaviorconference.com. That's dogbehaviorconference.com, and I'll see you there. And now, on to the podcast. Now, from time to time, I have my next guest come and give us all the news from the UK. If you're not in the UK, stick around because you are going to want to hear this. Her name is Beverley Cuddy. She is the editor of Dogs Today magazine, I think the longest running magazine in the UK. Correct me if I'm wrong, Beverley. I think it's the longest one.
Well, only Private Eye has had an editor longer than me. So I've been around a while, but yeah.
Gosh, okay. Right. So, and I love Dogs Today magazine. I wrote for it for 14 years and I love it. So I'm an avid reader of the magazine. But Beverley's also a writer and a journalist. And this is the reason why I love having her come on the show, because she'll talk a lot about the things that are news, front page news in the UK. And right now there's a lot of news. And I want to give you a rundown. So there's a new tool out there that I believe was launched last year, 25 in December, to help would-be dog guardians choose a new puppy, a dog that they want to be healthy, not suffer from health issues that is related to their looks. It's called the Innate Health Assessment, and it's created by the Royal Veterinary College's Dr. Dan O'Neill for the UK's All-Party Parliamentary Group for Animal Welfare. And it has the backing of more than 20 UK animal organisations. This includes the Kennel Club, the British Veterinary Association, the RSPCA, the Dogs Trust, and I could go on. Now, this tool arose because, as we know, dog breeds have extreme conformation. Brachycephalic dogs, flat-faced dogs, they have corkscrew tails, bulging eyes, can cause health and suffering. So the French Bulldog is one of those dogs that comes to mind, a very, very popular breed with a lot of issues. Despite the fact that the French Bulldog, it's a small dog, they tend to live longer, but the average lifespan of a French Bulldog is about 9.8 years compared to 12 and a half years for all dogs, apparently. So this isn't about breed. It said this focuses on 10 features. The Innate Health Assessment tool focuses on 10 features of dogs' bodies. And the idea is that people look at the list, see how many of those features apply to the dog they're considering. So as long as the dog scores at least 8 out of 10, it passes the assessment. So if getting a puppy, the assessment, for example, could be carried out for both parents. Then there is, so features include, let's say you choose a dog that has a tail long enough to wag, a nose that is long enough to breathe, eyelids that don't turn in or out or droop. And there's a diagram of the 10 features with illustrations. So obviously they say passing the test doesn't guarantee that your dog won't ever have health issues, but it shows that they don't have serious conformation-related issues. And this is not just about the French Bulldog. This is about Dachshunds. This is also about the merle color in certain breeds, including Shelties and maybe Australian Shepherds, Border Collies. And so since 2008, really, when pedigree dogs exploded onto our screens with the BBC, this has been a very hot topic of conversation. We know that so many breeds are compromised. Their health and their wellness are compromised. I've worked with lots of French bulldogs. Not only is their breathing a real issue, many of them need to have surgery in order just to breathe properly. But if you look inside them, I have a friend of mine who's a pain specialist. Their spine is almost like somebody that has scoliosis. So it's not just breathing with a French bulldog. Plus, they're so front heavy that a lot of French bulldogs, can't walk downstairs because they're so front heavy. A lot of them can fall. So I understand. I'm not just picking on the French bulldog. I understand this need. And so do you, Beverly. I know because you fought this fight. You understand the need that something has to be done, and yet it still doesn't seem to be done. And now we have this health assessment tool, which is the answer to all our prayers. Or is it? So, this is where I have been watching your Facebook posts, and you are bringing up some really interesting points. And might I say to anybody who's watching this, Beverly is a journalist. It's her job to question. But as I understand, a lot of these people that advocate for the IHA are a bit annoyed at the fact that you are questioning stuff. All right, so I've said enough. Beverly, have I got this right?
It's a very good introduction. Well done, Victoria. It's a complicated subject. And no one is more surprised than me that I'm on the other side in this argument. I'm normally with all those guys. It's very peculiar for me to be in this position. I first heard about this tool as like a whisper about maybe about a year ago. Um, this was 3 years in the making. This app, but the problem was the people making the app, the people that created this tool. It was a mixture of academics and rescue charities. There was allegedly someone from the Kennel Club present, but I think it was someone from the public affairs department rather than the health and breeding side. So we had no ethical breeders at the table when this was being made. So consequently, when it's been launched, it's not really been tried. What's created with the best of possible intentions has ended up being such a blunt instrument that those 10 different characteristics that are said to equate to suffering are so broad that there are very many dogs that are not suffering who sadly will fail part of this test. And
Hmm.
that's the problem, is that I've got a cocker spaniel. That's
Yeah, I
another of the
did. Yeah.
problems, having a little bit of a woof. The problem is it's got the best of intentions, this app. But the problem is there's a statistic that was used to launch it, which has caused a problem. They've said that more than 1 in 4 dogs in Britain are suffering from poor conformation. That's a very surprising figure.
Where did they get that from?
Well, we have been asking for them to come up with the proof of this statistic. And we think that what it is someone has come up with how many dogs in Britain would fail the innate health assessment test. That's a visual test of 10 points. It doesn't prove that they are suffering, it just proves they're going to fail this test. And that's the problem. The correlation between the test and actual suffering is not, we feel, proven. And we keep asking, has this been tested? Because the danger is this fast tracks into legislation, which it seems to be coming to do.
But right now it's voluntary. You don't have to take it. Breeders don't have to do it. It's not mandatory yet. So you're saying that this is going to be
Well,
law.
if you look on their website, the IHA's own website, it says that it starts off as voluntary within, but they're hoping it becomes mandatory, it becomes part of legislation. In the first, at the moment, you could fail twice. In 2 out of 10, you could fail and you could still be able to breed on. In 5 years, 1 out of 10. In 10 years, no fails. So you cannot breed on from those dogs, or you have to cross with another breed that as passes the IHA. So it's mandatory crossbreeding or end. And for some breeds, there is no way they're ever going to pass this test because some of the criteria are so broad. You couldn't imagine a long-legged corgi. You couldn't imagine. I mean, a dandy Dinmont has always had legs. That it's always been that low to the ground for functional reasons. It's nothing to do with Frankenstein's sort of breeding. This is just innately what these dogs look like. And they've been created over hundreds of years. It's not fashion. And I just think because no breeders were at the table when this was being developed, they've gone they've gone at it in an odd way. We've ended up with what is a tool that could help people identify real exaggerated conformation that causes suffering. But the people that are going to be forced to have this test done as part of the breeder's license, we think between 40 and 60 breeds fail at least one. And these are dogs that are fighting fit. They've got no suffering. These are, it's very hard for breeders to accept that they cannot breed these dogs in the future because of this randomness of being caught up in a visual tool that's been developed without them having any input.
So there is the 10 criteria for good innate health. There's a really great diagram here, but even myself, and of course I was involved a little bit in 2008 with Jemima Harrison and all the pedigree dogs exposed. And yes, I mean, I obviously see so many dogs, rescue dogs, as well as dogs that have been got from breeders, and have seen the behavioral effects of poor conformation too, as well as the physical ones. But this does cause me a little concern because here are the 10 criteria for good innate health, and they have different breeds in this diagram. Number one is no merle coloring. And that, okay, so no merle coloring. Well, we know that merles have a tendency towards deafness, hearing issues, among other things.
But is
No,
that
but
true?
hold on. This is what we've been led to believe. However, I've worked with, I don't know, hundreds of merle type breeds from Australian Shepherds to Shelties to Border Collies that are healthy and happy and have great hearing. So is this saying now you cannot no merle coloring at all?
That is exactly what this is saying. It's saying that Merle is cannot be bred on from. So that's a genetic end of the line. And there's a confusion there because Merle is a strange gene. If you cannot mate a Merle to a Merle, it's a really bad idea. But Merle in itself is not a color; it's a pattern. And the problem that the people who associate Merle with deafness are actually not really associating with deafness. What the Merle does is it causes a speckling, and where the white shows, the color white is associated with deafness. So I could understand a case for banning perhaps the color white, but the Merle effect is not the responsible one for sometimes a Merle dog having deafness. The statistical thing would be deafness is more common in white dogs. It's not Merle. Merle
Yes.
is not the guilty party here. And in some breeds, like the Collie and the Sheltie, the Australian Shepherd, a huge percentage of the breed has the Merle colour. The
Mm,
Merle, and if you
mm.
take that out, just if this goes through genetically, breeds will be devastated. And what that genetic bottleneck will create could be huge health problems in already small populations. And there's no real reason for Merle to be put in this top 10 because the dogs themselves are definitely not suffering. No, I mean, Beston Crofts 2 years ago was an Australian Shepherd
Yep.
who had failed 2 out of 10 of these points. A more healthy, happy you could not meet. So
Right.
there is a sort of a sanity check here that should have happened, where someone should have gone, "Did we mean to do this?" Because we they've tested it in rescues where they've gone in and seen dogs with obvious extreme conformation, and they've successfully identified extreme conformation with the app. What they haven't done is checked it against healthy dogs to see if they're getting false positives, because that's you can't go to the next level until you've proven this software doesn't cause unintended consequences. And the moment they're rushing into getting politicians to say, we support it, because everyone, when you see those photos of dogs suffering, those tremendously uh, altered dogs that humans have let down so badly, everybody's heart breaks. No one wants dogs that are messed up, but equally, we can't lose 40 to 60 healthy, good pet dog breeds just for a
Including,
mistake.
including, which is when you look at uh, this graphic, you have like a tick or a check mark for the dogs that are yay, but for the dogs that are X'd, as in no, we have on here, obvious, French bulldogs and lots of bulldogs. We have the pug, so you're done with the pug. And the English bulldog, that's finished. But you've also got the natural leg length, no dwarfism, which means here there's a huge X next to the dachshund. And we're not just talking a dachshund, you mentioned the corgi. You're also the dandy dimnon, which is quite a rare breed anyway, or a breed that has been suffering recently with regards to just the fact it's just not that popular. So it is becoming extinct,
Yeah.
almost. But so to see an X by our beloved dachshund, which, yes, we know that dachshunds can be bred with very long backs. We know that they can suffer from back issues. But again, too, there's a lot of people there who have dachshunds saying, my dachshund's very fit and healthy, thank you very much. So does this mean that huge X against dachshunds means no dachshunds?
Yep. It would either be the end of the dachshund as we know it, or we evolve a long-legged dachshund, which isn't really a dachshund.
No, it's
It, it,
not.
it's curious. I think what we could do is some subtlety where we maybe go for a slightly longer leg dachshund, so we avoid the extremes, or better still, a more nuanced thing that looks at IVDD, the dogs that do suffer in the Dachshund breed. I think there's a lot of work gone on. There's a lot more. A tool that only looks at the 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 extremity is never going to give you the full story.
Are you and your dog struggling with reactivity? You're not alone. At Positively, we've created a powerful new approach that will finally provide a lasting solution for your dog's reactivity. And it's available for you and your dog right now. Go to positively.com, click Take a Course, and find Help Stop Reactivity to enroll in this game-changing online course for you and your dog today. That's positively.com. And now, back to the podcast. So I'm all for helping dogs with their health and wellness and welfare. You know me, Beverley. I've spoken out a lot about it in terms of not just what dogs, of raising dogs and training dogs in the right way, but also what they look like. But even I'm looking at this going, This looks a lot like measurement. What else do we fight against when it comes to measuring dogs? Oh, yeah, that's like the Dangerous Dogs Act. That's now with the XL bully. Isn't measurement all part of that? Isn't this just as bad? Like, we are not looking at the individual dog. We are tarring all dogs with the same brush by saying if that dog is a Dachshund, they're all unfit, they're all unhealthy, they all have problems. And we're looking at by measuring. And then how is it going to be enforced? Are we going to have these people that go around and take the XL bullies and take the pit bull type dogs because they don't measure up to, in fact, their measurements are of type and so they get taken away? I'm not saying Dachshunds are going to get taken away, but this this sounds very like that when it comes to measuring dogs.
Yes, it's scary because the problem is if this rushes into the breeder's license and this app is accepted, it won't be just the UK, it will go to across all of Europe. And this is what we're hearing is that this will become the standard measure. So if we don't sort it out now, it's just going to spread. So if this would give permission to the local authority licenser to come in with an iPad and just go fail. And you, at the moment, yes, it's voluntary. Yes, there's no consequence at the moment. But if it becomes illegal to breed from this dog, which is what they've already said the legislation's there. We've already, I think it was it was, there's something in they're using very legal words here. They're saying suffering is a legal definition, and this app proves suffering. So if you breed from a dog that is suffering, you are breaking the law. So it's this is serious stuff. The definition of what is suffering visually needs to be absolutely explored and understood before this, because this won't need to be voted on in Parliament. This will just be added to existing legislation silently. And we will be forever trying to undo this. And the thing is, it's flexible. At the moment, there are 10 points. They were originally looking at 25. They can add more. So we are saying that those 10 points are we're going to lose maybe 40 to 60 breeds if people don't cross them and make them pass these odd tests. Um, what's next? Are we going to go with get rid of the spaniel ears? Because they're not standard either. At the heart of this, the concept is that breed is a mental construct. It does not exist in the real world. This is what the founder of this tool has said in interviews, that breed is human whimsy. They're all just dogs. And we need to make this is the revolution that he's hoping for, that dogs return to looking like dogs.
But he's a professor. He's a professor of companion animal epidemiology. He's the Royal Vet College. He's co-leader of Vet Compass program, what is Vet Compass?
Well, Vet Compass scrapes data from vets and insurers. So he takes the data from every sort of anonymized information. So 30% of vets in Britain, mainly the corporate vets, supply him with data. So he's got this sort of very the sort of thing that gets typed in it by the receptionist. So you've got the breed identified, the condition, whatever. So he has made a career out of analyzing that data that is from a 30% of the population who are at the vet. So it's an ill population, basically. He's
Right.
not analyzing 30% of dogs that are healthy enough not to be at the vets. He's only analyzing the dogs that were at the vets. So it's we've got an issue with what the data is actually really telling us, how good this data is, because it's not vets being asked their opinion as to health. It's sort of working backwards, saying we know that that dog is a brachycephalic dog, or we know that dog has got this, and then it's statistics are a science that can be many things. And I think we need to use common sense here and not just go, he's an expert, he's right. You need to challenge experts to say, well, okay, you've referenced this with 600 or some of the other pieces of your own research, but you're not telling us which bit fit which bit, but you're sort of, and everyone else has gone, he's an expert, he knows what he's talking about. But 3,800 breeders have gone, oh my God, what's gonna, you, why? Why are you picking on these healthy dogs? So we've got a gulf between someone who's tremendously eminent at writing research documents, meeting the real world. And at the moment, there's a fast track going on between academic theory and real life consequence. And I'm in the middle of it going, I'm normally on your side, but at this moment, I'm with them because I'm scared where this is going. Because we will never unpick this if it gets into legislation without it being questioned. It needs to be thoroughly tested, and we need to know what the unintended consequences of this action is. But my problem is, I don't think it is unintended. Because when I first heard about this tool, I reached out to him and said, tell me more. And I wrote an unprecedented 14 pages in the last issue of Dogs Today about this test. And I interviewed him so much. And this was before this was launched at the House of Lords in November. And I asked him specific questions. And he identified back then, before all this fuss, that there would be 30 to 40 breeds at the Kennel Club that would not pass the innate health test. So it was always accepted and known that whole chunks of pedigree dogs would not pass this test. So it's no surprise.
Okay. So I want to carry on this conversation. We're going to take a quick break, and I'll be back with Beverley Cuddy. Are you confused by all the conflicting dog training info flying around the internet? Tired of hearing about compromises that don't consider the dog's overall wellness? Looking for more than just how to teach dogs to do or not do something? If you feel like there must be more to dog training than the same old tired arguments about tools and methods, you're right. No matter your background, discover an inclusive community designed to go beyond traditional dog training and develop what you need to live your best life with your dog at positively.com. Accounts are completely free to set up, and you'll find countless pages, videos, and courses to level up not just your skills and knowledge, but also how you think about living your best life with your dog. Visit us now at positively.com. That's positively.com. And now, back to the podcast. Back with Beverley Cuddy. Gosh, this is sorry, puppy. This is firing me up on so many cylinders, right? I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And I'm going to say, well, I know that this is people's livelihoods and their passion, but to be quite honest, the Dachshund doesn't care. The actual dogs don't care. They're not going to go, oh, by the way, Bob, we're going to become extinct, right? This is a people issue that they'll be like, our beloved Dachshund is going to change. It's not going to be what we love, what we breed. And yes, there are so many issues with the Dachshund, and there are many, many healthy Dachshunds. And so what are we going to choose? Are we just going to say that all Dachshunds need to be done, need to be gone? So the breeders now, I want to focus on the breeders that have joined. What all of this is worrisome. On one hand, it's so difficult. I'm an ambassador for the RSPCA, and I absolutely I want dogs not to suffer. It just seems incredible to me that the government is still not banned shock collars. Get on with it. What the hell? If you want to talk about suffering, let's talk about that. Okay? But I understand we don't want dogs to suffer for the way they look and for the way they behave. That's been my fight. Stop punishing dogs for the way they behave because they're being dogs. But now we're punishing dogs for the way that they look, and we're punishing the good breeders. There are good breeders. There are some terrible breeders out there, and there's some really good breeders, and it feels like the good breeders are the ones that are going to be targeted because all of those other, we call them backyard breeders that fly under the radar, all the puppy mills, the puppy farms, all of that stuff is still going on in the UK. They ain't going to follow anything. They're just going to sell their dogs as much as they can. So the people that are going to be targeted and the people that are going to be suffering are the good breeders. Is this the reason why so many people have joined your group? Tell us, like, what are you doing about it? And what can be done about this? What is the solution to
Okay.
this?
Well, all this has happened very recently. On Christmas Eve, my gorgeous puppy farm reject dog died.
I'm sorry to
And
hear that. I
at
know, I
Christmas,
remember.
it's an awful thing to happen. And I had all that grief, and I thought, "Well, what can I do to feel, to honor my gorgeous Betty?" And I always wondered whatever happened to her mum. We never did find out. So I often worried about. Well, I was part of Pedigree Dogs Exposed in 2008. I was in the
Yes.
program. I,
Oh
I was
my gosh.
I
I
was
remember you getting so
absolutely.
much flack for being in the program.
It's so true. But the problem is, since that program, there's a there's been a backlash where the public watched that and they started to hate breeders, really hate them. And it's not just the public that hated the breeders, it became acceptable for legislation to treat them as if they were almost terrorists. It was all of them got lumped in together. People, when they went on holiday who bred dogs, would pretend they didn't because people would be rude to them if they admitted what they did. It's become socially unacceptable to say you are a breeder of dogs. So I was aware this was happening. I was aware that the legislation we'd had post 2008 seemed to just see breeders as all a problem to get rid of. So the breeder's license made it really easy for you to get a license if you were in a massive shed that was like an industrial unit. You could get 300 breeding bitches and have it licensed. And it per dog, virtually no cost at all. And it was so easy because the registration was all about the buildings. If you wanted to have a litter every few years in your home from a dog you loved and you did all the health tests, it's the most difficult thing in the world. If you apply for a breeder's license from that scenario, it'll cost you a fortune. They will come and look at your house and they will want to apply the same standards to your home that they do to the industrial kennels. You will be told to change your flooring. You will be penalised if you don't have two washing machines because you can't use the same washing machine that the dog's blanket's in. Things that have nothing to do with welfare and are very odd. But worst of all, if you come and invite them in your home to check you, they will send a report to the local planning department because they will have counted how many dogs you have. If you have more than 5 dogs in a domestic home, they will go for change of use on the planning. You will have to change your domestic house into a kennels. You will have to get your neighbours to approve. They will hate breeders. As soon as they know you want to breed, they will object. You will be turned down for change of use. Then you will get another person at your door giving you 28 days to get rid of your dogs. You can only keep 5, even if they're neutered. this is happening in Britain today. I am dealing with breeders who are stumbling into this nightmare of being asked to choose which of their beloved family dogs they give up. It's so wrong. The discrimination is disgusting.
So, but
Why there's no welfare reason for this.
oh, but yet the facilities that have 300 breeding bitches can still be licensed?
Oh, they're happily legal and licensed.
But they have
And because they're
300 breeding bitches, which is just I mean, I don't care how you sugar it, it's just a
it's
glorified puppy mill. That
it's
is a puppy mill.
it's grotesque, isn't it? Yet someone who has the dogs in the home with them for whole of life, giving aftercare for whole of life, doing all the health testing, is treated like a criminal. This is why I've formed this group. This is a group that need protection because they have been so badly treated. And I've called it Save the Great British Breeder from Extinction because so many of them have just stopped breeding because they're frightened of the knock on the door as somebody taking their dogs away. Because it's if you have multi generations, you keep your oldies, you treasure them,
Of course
you
you
don't
do.
dispose of them. And that's the thing, is to have a breeder's license is at the moment to buy into this that you must get rid of your older dogs. You can't keep them.
That's
I mean,
criminal.
we've got to change
That's
it.
tragic. That's horrific. Those poor dogs, well, they've lived most of their lives in a place and now they have to go because what the law says.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have somebody come in and say, well, you got too many dogs, so get rid of the old ones. Are you kidding me? That's
And
just
even if you,
abusive. Sorry, that's just
I, I'm
abusive. That's cruelty.
I'm dealing with a lady who had just moved house and had bought a 6-bedroom detached house with her own money. And she had lots of little dogs that lived in the house, and she applied for the breeder's license. She is now in the situation where she said, I will give up breeding. I'll never breed again. I just want to keep my dogs. Even though she said she will never breed another litter, she'll have them all neutered, they are still pursuing her to get rid of her excess of any more than 5 dogs. They are, and she can only appeal to the Secretary of State. It's just a national scandal that this is happening. She said she will never breed another litter, but they're still pursuing her. There's no neighbour complaints. She lives in a massive house. There's enough for every dog to have a bedroom. You know, it's just silly. It's just so silly. There's no welfare issue. It's breeders have been treated as things to get rid of. And people have not really seen the correlation between if you if you only acquire puppies from people who do keep their oldies, who do keep in touch with all their puppy buyers, these dogs don't ever end up in rescue. They've always
No.
got a back to base rule. There's whole of life care there because they love mum and they love every puppy that they produce. And they don't breed very often. They breed infrequently. They're not doing it out of profit motive. They're doing it for the love of the dogs that they are obsessed with. They are, I would say, living a dream that not everyone shares. But for them, this is their world. The people who are trying to preserve the Dandy Dinmont, they won't take it that, oh, just breed them with something else so they get longer legs. It's sort of like when their dog isn't unhealthy, why should they? I mean, it's just, where's their human rights? I mean, it's just like, well, you're just being silly. Humans are silly because these aren't breeds. They're just dogs. And that's what's also in this confused thinking is it's all about the way the dog looks. There's 10 visual points. There's nothing about temperament.
That's
There's
what I
nothing
was like.
about
No, that's okay. So number one, no mole coloring. Number two, smooth skin, no skin folds. Right. So you've got the Shar and yeah, we know that the Shar with skin folds and the English bulldog can have terrible dermatitis, can have terrible issues with skin folds and infections. And okay, here's the thing: muzzle long enough for easy breathing. I get it. So that's the pug out, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pugs that I know that actually breathe pretty well, um, but but I understand we need to make that nose longer. However, how long? Because then we're going to have no short-nosed dogs at all. And we don't have to have, I understand, we don't wanna have the flat-faced dogs, that's terrible. But surely there can be like an in between. Eyelids that don't turn in, turn out, or droop. Eyes that sit deeply in the socket, not bulging. So that's the Boston Terrier out there too. Jaws closed correctly, no overbite or underbite. Well, most of the dogs that I see here, they're all pits mixes, or they've been in rescue. They all have underbites. Um, long tail long enough to wag. Wait a second. What about those dogs that are actually born without a tail? Um,
They're gone.
Okay. I understand the corkscrew tails can be an issue because that's a spinal issue. That's straight legs, no bowing at all, right? I mean, that's horrible to see an English bulldog with these legs out like that. I mean, it's just horrific. Natural leg length, no dwarfism, spine that can flex, right? But hold on. This is, and again, I'm on both sides, truly, which I want to support the good breeders, and I want to also support the poor breeding of dogs. But this seems to be incredible discrimination. This is looking and saying, if your dog's legs are shorter than this, that's it, right? That's what this is like. What every all of these charities that are supporting this, and all of these organizations supporting this, are the ones that have screamed loudly about BSL and about measuring and about how we can't assess dogs from their behavior by measuring them. This
Yeah,
seems to
it's
be, as I said, very close to this.
it's very close. It's very close. And one of the things that we picked up on in Parliament the other day, we had a meeting about this. There was a presentation about how you could cross the dogs to get out of this. And someone said, I'd be really interested in your take on this, that there is more variation temperament within a breed than outside of a breed, because it was argued that the problems we have in the cockapoo, for example, is that clash of temperaments that if you get a very high working drive cocker with a poodle, people can get a dog that's extremely difficult to live with if they're not used to having dogs. And temperaments mixed together cannot always work. But we were being told that we're being silly, that there's more variation of temperament outside, within a breed than outside of a breed. So no problem at all in smashing breeds together. That temperaments, no, it's irrelevant.
So let me tell you about the cockapoo from a behavioral standpoint, right? And it's funny because amongst us trainers, when we're like, okay, so we've got a case of resource guarding, and then we're like, oh, it's a cockapoo. Don't tell me it's a cockapoo, or it is a labradoodle, or it's mostly yeah. So it's those mixes, definitely the cockapoo, that where we do see, interestingly enough, a lot of resource guarding, so much so that trainers kind of know it. It's like that in joke. So they're saying, if I understand you correctly, that if you mix breeds, there's less chance of there being a temperament issue, a behavior issue. That is, excuse my French, but bullshit.
You're getting into my world now, Victoria. This is the environment I've been living with in the last couple of months, where I've been full of what you're saying. What really? And you've got all these qualifications. You, it's people are experts in one field,
Yeah.
just making huge assumptions about other people's lanes. And there are people in the audience who, in this debate, who are going, border collies. They're born herding. It's innate in them. You can't say that there's not temperament that is hardwired into breeds, and that you can't. If you know, a great blender may be able to find new crosses that are fantastic, but if we're going to give people an iPad and a yes, no, and then expect people to just make it up themselves how they can keep going and to breed, and there's not going to be anybody there telling them that, that's not a good idea or that is a good idea. We were told as well that that pedigree is redundant. That now the kennel club's irrelevant. It was really a sort of like a let's forget all of that now. They're just dogs.
Okay, so hold on. Let me just talk about the Royal Kennel Club. Okay, I know that they've gone through all of their issues, their financial issues, the this or that. They are rebranding. Their social media is great right now. They're paying a lot for that. But the Kennel Club, we know that they have a lot of issues. There's a reason why I'm not going to Crufts this year. I've been in conversation with the Kennel Club. There is a reason why I have been at Crufts filming and filming as a presenting contributor for many years, as well as having a booth there for many years. And this year I will not be going. They know why. We've been in conversation why. Because the handling, because some of the cruelty that I've seen in the handling of dogs, I can't unsee it. There is time for a change in that. It is the largest dog show in the world. And yet what seems to be at the very bottom of everything is the welfare and wellness of dogs there during that show. And we have seen, myself and many of my colleagues saw some really troubling, not just handling in the ring. We saw it on television too, celebrated by everybody. And we also saw it when the cameras were not on them or when the judges weren't in the ring. And it was just people trying to do things with their dogs, getting angry with them, hitting them, things like that. The Kennel Club, though, I have to say that when I told them that they are open to meeting and to discussing this issue and to making it better. And so I am not going to diss them for going, yes, there's an issue. This is what we've tried to do. And we know we need to do better, because they do try and put a lot of checks and balances in place for handling. But then it needs to be better. So myself, my colleague Yaz Porritt, we are giving a lot of ideas to the Kennel Club in ways that they can improve that show. Let's put those ideas into play to make it better. You're not going to stop Crufts. You're not going to do it, but you can make it a better experience for dogs. We have some great ways on how to do that. I do hope the RKC are going to work with us and continue the spirit of collaboration. Are you a dog trainer? Looking for pro learning opportunities that go beyond the usual? Click or call the Victoria Stilwell Academy at vsdta.com to discover which of our professionally focused courses are right for you. From foundational starter courses to our comprehensive Level 5 accredited pro dog trainer course, and even specialized courses in advanced topics like reactivity for professionals, VSA offers new and seasoned dog trainers unparalleled industry-leading learning experiences. Find out more and take a completely free preview course now at vsdta.com. That's vsdta.com. And now, back to the podcast.
It's a new team, pretty much. We've got a new chief executive. We've got a new chairman. And I've got a lot of history as well with... I've been probably their biggest critic for many years. But I'm giving them a bit of slack at the moment because I'm saying, you guys are new in the job. You financially, they've hit rock bottom. Registration-wise, things have been so low. They have to come back up and they have to lead and they have to look after the dogs. And there is, in crisis, there is opportunity. I do think that they can resurface for all dogs and they can be the hero. They can come up absolutely looking brilliantly from this. And what they have done, when this IHA was being produced, they've been doing really detailed breed health work are coming up with something that's much more nuanced, that's vet based. So, a nose to tail assessment that's with a vet that interacts with all the other health tests there is. And I'm in talks with them to make that nose to tail for every dog that's bred, not just the Kennel Club registered ones, but for this to be available to every person that has a litter to have like an MOT. I don't know if you have an MOT in America, but a thing that's a health checkup before you get into the idea of having a litter so that you get someone who's an expert, a proper expert, a vet, who's going to do a checklist that isn't just on an app, yes, no, yes, no.
Yes.
Actually looks at outcomes and what works and have something that's tangible that is part of the breeder's license. And also that this now group of hugely sort of motivated ethical breeders that have joined together that previously were all on their own. Nobody was really speaking up to them. They need to have a voice at the table when Parliament is debating how we change this breeder's license so that we get legislation that looks after the dogs, looks after the puppy buyers, but mainly looks after the
To the
dogs.
dogs. This is the
Build it
Breeding for
first.
Health framework, the Breeding for Health framework. And they say, and the Kennel Club is never good at saying, yeah, we're looking into this. We haven't done as best as we could. That they're actually now doing it. So you're this leadership, we need to support them. As you always have said, Beverly, we need a good, robust kennel club. Okay, so they say we need to work harder to reach different audiences such as breeders, puppy buyers, vets, etc. Our health work has some gaps and weaknesses. Yeah, I'll say it has. Um, but they're launching the Royal Kennel Club Breeding for Health framework, where they're looking at all aspects of health and welfare. And I support for them for this. But this is what I'm seeing now, Beverly, because they support the IHA. It was the Kennel Club they support, but now I think the Royal Kennel Club, these new people are in there are like, wait a second, no, we're going to do our own thing. So now there's going to be two things. Which one's gonna win, Beverly?
Well, I'm hoping that what we'd end up with is both in a
Yes.
different way. I'd like this app
Here, here.
to be refined to be for the puppy owner to help them question what's cute and get them to start looking at the qualities that they may have found attractive. This will explain why it isn't. And it'd be great if the merle bit of it was to show people that mating two merles together is a really bad idea because people who love dachshunds don't know that the dapple is a merle. And
Yes.
we've found so many pet people who've just stumbled into having a litter that's horribly, horribly damaged because they don't know that dapple is merle and they don't know. Well, why would the general public know that merle, when it's mated together, creates a really lethal gene? So, yeah, use that one as a public facing PR tool, but don't impose it on the breeders as a you can't breed from this dog ever again and have that sort of thing. Have it so that in legislation there is this vet MOT that has been designed by a team of, I think it's about 13 vets that have been working on this with the Kennel Club and academics, people who are from the same college. So theirs is a less sort of gimmicky version, but a lot more sort of nuanced and sensible. So let's have a new way of, you have to do this before you breed. And there will be some revisions, we hope, to the breeder's license coming forward so that there is a more of less of a difficulty for people who want to do it small scale well from home. Let's make it so that they're not terrorized or treated to, having to choose between their dogs or having any future generations. Um, this crisis may have a happy ending if the breeders get a seat at the table, if we elevate the Kennel Club's quite stuffy sort of image to become relevant to the general public again, if they can step up to being the place where you go for information when you're thinking of buying a dog, because they can curate who the breeders are. They are open at the moment to accepting crossbreeds, which is a huge, a huge thing. I think that what they can do as a modern kennel club is provide that reassurance to the general public as to who the person is breeding their dogs, who the parents are, so they don't. So the general public doesn't have to learn every health test in the world. Someone curates it for them. Say this is good practice. If you're going to breed a cockapoo, for example, these are the health tests that both parents should have had. Here's a DNA test that proves that the ingredients in this dog are actually the ones that you think they are, and aren't just somebody making it up, because that's going on all over the place. People are buying dogs that grow to be 3 times the size that they were expected to be. Put something in place that someone in charge, really, someone who is give them a new job. That's their job now,
Right.
is to curate and act on behalf of the public to stop them making disastrous decisions based on impulse purchase. Because at the moment, that's all we've got. We've got huge internet sites where people scroll and just look at beautiful pictures, click. They have no idea who these people are. There's no standards because it's the Wild West. So
So that
I
that Wild
agree. We
West,
need to
but
do something.
so Beverly, that Wild West though, those are the people that are gonna continue whether whatever's gonna happen, right? What's the government doing about the Wild West?
Well, that's the thing, is that I think what will happen if the IHA goes through without revision, what will happen is those people who we all absolutely hate, the people that bred the fluffy merle French bulldogs that look like frogs, those people will
Disgusting.
go, these are illegal now, double the price, cryptocurrency, here we go. And they will just cash in because they're the people who don't have a TV license, don't, tax their car. They are impossible to control by this sort of legislation. What we need to do is the bigger fight here is to talk to the general public. Don't frighten them with all these, because they already know that all of these breeds are compromised. We did that with Pedigree Dogs Exposed. We've done it since. We frightened the life out of them. They're still buying these dogs because they feel sorry for them. They're we
Mhm.
Humans are very annoying. The brain turns to mush and they rescue these badly deformed dogs. What we need to do is give them a new story, give them a new way of behaving that's much more fun. And I'd like to see people making TV programs that show dogs being bred as family members, brought up to being family members, people who are talented breed trainers doing early learning, making these puppies learning how to be good dogs from the minute they're born. How at 8 weeks you can get a puppy that is absolutely set up for success, and that you get a lifetime of aftercare. That you get to stay in touch with all your dog's brothers and sisters. You know what happens to mum. You're in a group where you see updates from all your sibling dogs, meet up for walks, paint a new dream of this is how you buy a dog. You do not go to a random person on the internet. You go to people that never move, that are there for your whole of life, holding your hand. And we change the way dogs are bred so that just as we buy eggs where we know we won't buy them that are battery farm, we buy dogs that are ethically produced. And then less dogs will be in rescue. Rescue will be there for emergencies. Our little group that we set up on Boxing Day, we started, has a code of conduct. Part of that code of conduct is whole of life aftercare. Plus, we've got an agreement that when we get properly unionised, everyone who sells a puppy will include a puppy tax in there that goes into a fund so that if the breeder dies in that puppy's lifetime or something happens so they cannot do their pledge to look after their dogs, there is a central reservation fund to help. So no dog ever from a union member will end up in rescue. No dog will ever end up in a pound that's come from one of our members. That we protect the dogs. Morally, we're responsible for every dog brought into this world. And I don't see anyone would have a problem with liking those people if that's in their moral code, that they do every health test, they do all the early learning, whole of life care, people would start being proud to be breeders again. And that's what we need. We need to have this new way of buying a dog. Yeah, you can rescue. Brilliant. Rescue if you can, if you've got the lifestyle or the skills or the right dog. But people shouldn't feel guilty for getting a puppy and do it furtively because they still get the puppy. They're just rushing to get it. They're not they're not doing it openly. They're not saying, I'm, because people, it should be more like a celebration. I'm going to get a puppy at last in my life, and I'm going to do it properly. And I'm going to find one of those amazing breeders that is going to be, well, someone that I want it so that kids can aspire to be a dog breeder, that
Right.
it's a genuine career that is good for the dog and it's good for you.
If you want a puppy from a breeder, you usually have to wait for a while, but waiting for a while is good. And it stops you from making snap decisions, and it stops you from purchasing from these people that don't care about breed health, temperament, wellness. They just are on those websites and they make it all look wonderful, and you're buying a really compromised dog from a really bad place. So we all need a bit more patience. And I feel like with all of this app with the IHA, and I fully support what everybody is trying to do, of course, which is to make the lives of dogs better. And we need to continue to do that, both in conformation and also behaviorally, and the way we raise and the way we teach them. But Beverley, thank you for joining me, and thank you for giving this some clarity. Thank you for doing your job as a journalist and questioning it, because I think the questions you are asking, they need to be answered. Nobody is saying, oh, this is just completely terrible. We're saying that you need to answer these really important questions, and you need to support those breeders out there that are doing the right job. Plus, you also need to support those people there that are breeding good, healthy Dachshunds. And we got to revisit measuring, measuring dogs. Right? So I know that's what you've been talking about. And I also know you've been getting a lot of flack. But Beverley, here's the thing where I think, you and I have been at this for a very long time. We still are not afraid to ask the questions. We are still not afraid to move the needle. And if we get pushback, even if it's from a lot of people, if you know what you are doing is in the great benefit for dogs and people who love them, and it comes from a place of experience, you have to ask those difficult questions, and people have to answer them as well.
Yeah. It's because dogs, they're they're so important. You can't. Yeah, it'd be a lot easier just to switch off and and not engage. Because honestly, this has been the hardest fight I've ever had because
Yeah,
it's people I admire
of
that
course.
I'm having to explain this to, who assume, well, of course, no. It's a bit like when people say, there's that joke that there is a question you can ask people that there is no correct answer. If you say, "Have you stopped hitting your wife?" Not there's no answer there that is correct because you shouldn't be hitting your wife in the first
In the
place.
first place.
There
Yeah.
should not be suffering. There should not be extreme suffering in dogs. Of course, everyone is against it. We're all appalled by it. But two wrongs don't make a right. You don't cancel healthy dogs just as collateral damage. You've got to be targeted. You've got to get it right because dogs are just very important. And
Absolutely.
uh, people's passion, I don't think they've factored that in. I think there'll be people walking up to 10 Downing Street with their corgis and their dachshunds because it's number one dog in Britain now, the dachshund.
Is
That's
it?
replaced the French bulldog. So
Okay.
this is going to affect a huge number of people.
Beverley, thank you so much for joining me. And I would think we just got to keep an eye on this story. We really do. It is. I'm glad that people are making headway, but I also think, we need to, as Beverley said, we need to get it right. And so, you You got to meet those questions with answers. And if you can't meet those questions with answers, then there's something that's not entirely 100% right. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Really appreciate your time. And I'm so glad these podcasts are back. I know we had a long break, but gosh, do I have the best guests. Thanks, Beverley, and thanks to everybody who listens every week. We really appreciate your support. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Victoria Stilwell's Positively podcast. For Victoria's online dog training courses, more information, and helpful dog training tips, visit Victoria's official website at positively.com. Get connected on Facebook, Instagram, and other social media as Victoria Stilwell. Learn to become a professional dog trainer with the Victoria Stilwell Academy at vsdogtrainingacademy.com. And be sure to tune in next time as Victoria helps you and your dog live your best life together. Positively.
Are you overwhelmed by the world of professional dog training? We get it. There are so many different voices competing for the hearts and minds of people like you who just want the best for dogs and the people who love them. The good news is we're living in a golden age of understanding about not just how dogs think, feel, and learn, but also the importance of exploring and respecting the life experience and overall wellness of these amazing animals. But it can be tough keeping up with and making sense of all the labels: force-free, balanced, positive. And even when you identify the type of training that resonates naturally with you, people are telling you that positive training alone isn't enough. At VSA, we understand how hard it can be to navigate this world. And we're also at the forefront of rethinking what it means to be a professional in the pet industry working with dog behavior. And spoiler alert, it's about much more than just teaching dogs to do or stop doing something. So we'll make it simple. If you're looking to cut through the noise and focus on building or nurturing a career dedicated to serving the best interests of dogs and the people who love them, come talk to us at the Victoria Stilwell Academy. We have live and online courses designed for people at every step of their professional dog training journey, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Visit us when you're ready at vsdta.com. Once again, that's vsdta.com. We're here to support you no matter your background, and we'd be honored to share your journey with you. And now, back to the podcast.